this is TechState. I want to talk about a simple API request. Okay, how do we validate the response body using regular Postman or also using it in automation? Now, this is the URL that you can use. If I search for all the users that doesn't without specifying it to certain user, now when I call this, when I send the request to this user's endpoint, what I get is all the users that are available, as you can see here. Now I want to specifically request for a user with the ID equal to 1. To do that, I will just have to add 1 here, and now I have the first user. Okay, in this response body we can verify or validate different parts of this response body. These ID, name, username, email, all of these, street, these are called properties. Okay, and all of these are called what? The right side of this column is called the value. Each property has associated value to it, right? Corresponding value. Now, in response body, you can validate anything. You can validate the name with the user with the ID of 1 should have this name, for example. Username should be equal to Brett. Email should be equal to sincereapril.biz. The address, street needs to be equal to this. Like, we can access different parts of this JSON body and validate them. So we're gonna do the same thing using Postman. So in Postman, what I do is, again, if I just search for all users, in the response, I get all the users, right? So now I wanna narrow it down to the first user. And as you can see, the same response that we got in the browser is here right now. So for me to validate here, different parts of it, I can start with the name. Is the user with the ID equal to 1 have the name Leanne Graham and the username to be equal to Brad or the email to equal to this? I can check different parts of this JSON body from the response. Now to do that in automation, this is what I will, there are some tools that I will use. For example, RestAssured is a library to perform API HTTP requests, right? HTTP request methods, such as CRUD operations, right? Create, read, update, delete, which is, in another word, it means get, write, right? Delete and update from using HTTP methods. We can perform post request, we can perform put request where we can update certain data from the backend. We can perform get, which will just retrieve the data, right, from the backend. So here, RestAssured library is being used, and I am just providing the same URL that we used, okay? And by requesting a get method to that URL, I'm gonna use a class or interface that comes from RestAssured. As you can see here, response, it comes from RestAssured library, okay? It has a corresponding class, which is the implementation of the response interface. Here we are basically creating an object of this response, okay? And to this object, we are going to save the response body. Not only response body, but the response object. Everything about this response to this current request. We're gonna use request specifications like given, when, then syntax, right? The Gherkin syntax, which is supported by RestAssured library again. So we're gonna perform given this URL, and when I send the get request to the API to the endpoint users and with the ID of 1, then I want the status code to be what? 200. And also, what I want to do is extract the response and save it in this response object. Extract and response, these are methods that is supported by what? RestAssured library. Okay? In here now, whatever I get from this request, I save it in this response object. And by using JSON path, which also comes from RestAssured library, this path method will give me different properties from this response. Okay, I can, for example, now using this response object, I want to save the name that's coming from the API response. This name is, if you remember here, it is a property in our response. And whatever the value that it has, I am going to save that in this string object. So the name will be saved in there. And then this is my expected name, right? I'm just making sure that it matches this Leon Graham. So this is the name that is gonna saved in the expected name. Now, from now on, I can perform my assertions using the assertions class that is in JUnit, and assert equals. I'm just making sure that expected is the actual response that I'm getting is equal to what is the expected name. Okay, name from the API. This is where we extracted the name properties value and saved it in here. Again, doing the same thing for the email. If you remember, in our response there's email, so I want to check if the email is equal to this. We're also going to try to make this test case fail. So also response, and I'm using path method to access the email property. This path method takes a parameter, and that parameter needs to match the property that exists in that response. And I provide here the expected, and here I'm doing what? Assertion again, to making sure that it is equal to that. So let's go ahead and run it, and that should pass. There we go. 0 out of 1 test, so 1 out of 1 test has passed. Everything was successful. Now let's go ahead and change something here. I'm gonna change, for example, I'm going to remove this biz and put here com, okay? sincere@april.com. Let's see if it's going to fail now. And that should fail for us. Okay, this is our report saying expected was sincere@april.com, but the actual response was sincere@april.biz. So our assertion failed here, okay? And what if, for example, this path in the response, right? This property doesn't exist. What if I put here, NA instead of name? Let's run this. What kind of exception is it going to throw? Okay. It says the assertion failed. Oh, I see. Okay. It didn't find this path, right? That's why it provided us a null value. And expected string name is this. So therefore it failed. It didn't even bother, executing rest of the scripts. So that's it for today. And by using this path method that's in the RestAssured, you can access different parts of the JSON body's property, JSON response properties, and assert them. Thank you very much.